In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Thanks, Lisa. Bonnar Spring learned to read in kindergarten and never stopped. The restrictive policy of her town library, only 14 books per card, led her to become omnivorous. Her brother's science fiction, her mother's romantic suspense and mysteries, the books her father hid behind the hardcovers on the top shelf. A nomad at heart, Bonnar hitchhiked across Europe at 16 and joined the Peace Corps after college. After living and teaching overseas, she returned to the U.S. where she earned a master's from Harvard and taught English as a second language for many years. Bonnar recently trekked to Machu Picchu for a significant birthday. Her award-winning debut, Toward the Light, is set in Guatemala, and 2022's Disappeared takes place in Morocco. She's the 2023 recipient of the Al Blanchard Award, presented for the Best New England Crime Short Story. And her short fiction was recently recognized in the Derringer Awards competition. Her website is BonnarSpring.com. Bonnar Spring, welcome to the conversation.
It's so nice being here with you today, Terry. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's begin with 2022's Disappeared. Give us the backstory.
We're going to start with two American women who go to Morocco on vacation. They're sisters, Julie and Faye, and it's a more or less yearly holiday that they take to catch up, to de-stress, or that's supposedly the rationale. But this year, Faye, who was the sister who suggested Morocco as their destination, is harboring a secret from Julie. For Faye, it's a lot more than just a vacation. And before you know it, both sisters are in big trouble. Faye is in over her head in something she shouldn't be messing with. But Julie, who doesn't know Faye's secrets, is totally blindsided. And when Faye disappears, Julie doesn't know who to trust. She tries to understand what's going on, tries to understand the betrayal, and tries to find her sister. I used a log line on Thelma and Louise with a more satisfying ending or something like that. But someone who was writing a review once said that it was more like Indiana Jones. The chases, the hiding, all the secrets and stuff like that. And so I'm going to take that. Pure Indiana Jones, right? So we got strangers in a strange land and political tension, North African political tension, escape, flight, betrayal. Most of it takes place in the Sahara Desert.
You described the geography in Disappeared with such clarity. Have you been there?
I started going to Morocco back in the early 2000s. I traveled to Morocco with a friend. I don't have a sister, but I went with a friend of mine. And we enjoyed it so much. The first time we went, we'd been on vacation in Spain, and the weather was absolutely horrible. We were driving west of southern Spain, and we saw a sign for the ferry to Tarifa, and we just said, what the hell? So we went to Morocco. It was so great. We went back 2 or 3 years running, and then after a gap, another time. I was actually back in Morocco, which has nothing to do with this book, last winter. So this time last year, I was in Morocco. It's a wonderful place. Absolutely gorgeous.
What did you like best about it?
2 different things. If you'd asked me about writing, I would probably say that the same 2 things, the setting and the people. So here we are, we're 2 more or less middle-aged women traveling through Morocco. I have French, but I don't speak Arabic. And everyone was just so attentive, so nice. You pick up a hitchhiker, which we did, and you'd end up going to his house and having dinner with him. His wife would make the food and then would put it down in front of us and the guy, and she and the kids would eat in the kitchen. We met so many wonderful people. I really enjoyed it. And Morocco is a small country, but between the ocean and the mountains and the desert, there's just so much to see. It has a really interesting history, of course, too. Big cities, small towns, camels, palm trees, all kinds of stuff.
Bonnar Spring is our guest. We are talking about Disappeared, her second novel. Her website is BonnarSpring, BonnarSpring.com. Have you weaved any autobiographical elements into Disappeared?
The most interesting question I've ever gotten at an in-person book signing was someone asking me if I'd let my sister read the book before I had it published. And the answer to that question is, I don't have a sister. I grew up with 3 little brothers, and I always wanted a sister. I've always wondered, what if in my life? And of course, what if you do any sort of studying about writing or writing prompts is, what if this happened? And then what if that happened? So it's a very easy rabbit hole for me to wander down. If this, oh, then that, then maybe the other thing. And of course, in hindsight is probably the right word. In hindsight, you can go back and see where those things have taken you. In other words, if you're a writer, you can go back to the beginning.
You are a novelist, but you also have a gift for creating compelling short stories. How did you learn to write more compressed tales, and how are the two styles different?
I'm really loving short stories right now, like making an omelet instead of making beef Wellington. For me, at least, it's that one simple idea, something I can wrap my head around pretty easily. And honestly, most of the time, I find that I can visualize the main scenes, the main action before I even put any words on paper. Of course, there's a lot of other things that have to happen too, but I like that. I think short fiction writing, to be clear, is making me a better writer in the sense that I'm more focused. My writing is more focused. I'm able to delineate exactly how you don't have that much space. So I'm delineating exactly how things have to happen, how things unfold in a short story. And I overwrite badly on first drafts. So I think it's going to be helpful to me as I dive back into novels. I actually think, though, the most fun I have with short stories is writing morally ambiguous protagonists, right? I didn't have to stick with them for 300 pages. I can get in and out in 15 or 20 pages. And I've written some, what I guess you'd call for me, some pretty twisted characters.
Twisted protagonists sometimes have trouble sustaining reader empathy in novel-length stories. Are they a better fit for short fiction?
But I don't think in the normal sense of the word, when I read really noir books about deeply flawed characters, I don't want to stay, generally speaking, in their lives for very long. I read a short story fairly recently that started out about the blood spatter when somebody shot somebody in the backyard. And I thought, I'm not sure I need to read the blood spatter story.
You have encountered your share of writers with wonderfully dark tales as a podcaster. Tell us about the Crime Wave podcast.
What is so much fun about it is that, so it's called Crime Wave, and I interview mystery, thriller, and suspense authors. I'm reading a lot more broadly, and it is absolutely wonderful. It has opened my eyes to authors I didn't know about. It's helped me get to know authors whose books I might have read a little bit. It's absolutely been fascinating. There's only one thing my podcast doesn't have, Terry.
And what's that?
A host with the best radio voice on the planet, Terry Shepard.
Thank you. I would have to disagree, Bonnar. I think you are terrific as a host.
Thank you. The best advice I got about doing a podcast was follow the conversation. It's not just some random stuff. I really do want to know what these people are talking about, how they feel.
We're in conversation with author and podcaster Bonnar Spring. Her website is BonnarSpring.com. We've heard about her fascinating novel, Disappeared, and we've learned about Crime Wave, her podcast featuring fellow practitioners of the craft. What makes a great story?
I most appreciate writing that features interesting characters. Really, there's a trifecta of the interesting characters in a place that I can visualize. And I suppose I'm gonna focus most on the characters right now to answer your question, Tara, because I've read characters that I wouldn't normally read. I've learned how different authors, as different as Jim Latoile, and Mary Kubica, for example, how they develop a character. And that might be, who knows, something else that helps me, improve as a writer.
You mentioned a couple of great names, and as writers, we read a lot of books. How many truly impress you?
Okay, honest answer, not a lot. All right. But the follow-up to that is the books that managed to surprise me. Wow. And some of them are books I would never have otherwise encountered. Some of them are wonderful. I just read something by a guy named Tim Malvini, and Lord help me, I had no idea where that one was going.
Let's ask the two questions. Favorite song?
Okay. You caught me at a time when I'm going to say Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah. Now, I know Jeff Buckley did it. The Pentatonics did an a cappella version of it. Okay. I know it's cliche, but drives up the emotion so much. And okay, the cliche is I want it at my funeral, okay? Along with the Stones doing You Can't Always Get What You Want.
The Big Chill version. And the book you would take with you to a desert island.
Currently, I have to say that Lou Berney's November Road, which is not a new book, is my favorite book. And so sounding a bit like a broken record, if you think about the characters in that book coming right after the JFK assassination, the woman and her daughters, the road trip, I'm a big fan of road trip books. If I could say a second one is Attica Locke's Bluebird. I grew up in the same neighborhood that she writes about off Highway 59 in South Texas. And her depiction of it from the point of view of a Black woman was so Twilight Zone to my recollection growing up as a little girl there. It was a fascinating book. I have not read the sequel to that, but it is, I'll get around to it one of these days real soon, I hope. That's the problem with podcasts, because I got a book every week.
Bonnar Spring has been our guest. Her latest book is Disappeared, available wherever cool books are sold. And she is the host of the Crime Wave podcast on the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. Find her online at BonnarSpring.com. Bonnar, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for the conversation.
It's lovely talking with you, Terry. Thank you, dear.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.